Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And in today's range report, we're going to be taking a look at another classic Beretta pistol, one that was introduced in 1982. It's a 380 direct blowback double stack pistol. This is the Beretta Model 84BB, and BB in the name stands for Brevettato Brevettato, and Brevettato means patent in Italian, but when you use those two words together, it means it's the second alteration or the second iteration of this pistol. So yes, there was a Model 84 and a Model 84B. This model was replaced by the 84F, the 84FS, and today you might know it as the Beretta 80X. But they're all at heart the same gun, and they were improvements over some older pistols like the 81 and the 82, which were chambered in 32 ACP. Then there was the 380 models, the 83, 84, 85, and 86. The 83 and 85 were single stack, the 84 and the 86 were double stack, and then the 87, 88, and 89 were all 22 long rifle, and some of those were target pistols. But I think when it comes to all of the 80 series, the 84 is the one that has the most longevity. It's the one that was used by police departments around the world, even though it's chambered in 380. In fact, if you want to pick up one of these, you're pretty much going to have to go to the surplus market, because this is a long discontinued model, but there's quite a few out there that have been imported to the United States recently, and that's what this one is. This one is a police trade-in, so it shows a little bit of wear, but these are known for being very durable and long-lasting pistols, so that's why people that are interested in affordable CCW carry guns and Beretta collectors adore these so much. So I'm really excited to see how this gun shoots at the range and how it compares to my personal 84FS and the 80X. In fact, I'll be doing a comparison video with these three guns in the near future. Now, when it comes to the Model BB, there are a few improvements, as I mentioned, over the older models. And these improvements included more cocking serrations, an upgraded recoil spring assembly with a wider guide rod, and the front strap and the rear strap have serrations on them. And so I'm assuming there were police departments or end users that requested these upgrades. But as I said, the 84BB is one of those classic pistols that you see on the surplus market that pretty much everyone wants. So before we get this gun to the range and talk about all the things that I like and don't like, as always, I want to thank the people that make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this pistol who lent it to the channel. He's a local fan and subscriber named Jack. In fact, he's the first person named Jack that has done this, because I now have two, so I call him Jack number one. So thank you again, Jack, so much for giving me this opportunity. I always want to thank my Patreons as well for their support, because I could not do this without their help. And if you guys want to join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, there is a link in the description below, and you guys get to see all of these videos early. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor who provides all of the ammunition for these range reports and makes them financially feasible for me, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And yes, here we are reviewing another classic pistol made of metal that can take panel grips. In fact, the original 84 had wood grips, and you might have a Beretta 92, a Colt 1911, a CZ75, or a Browning High Power, just to name a few. And you might be in the market for a set of wood panel grips to make your guns unique and one of a kind and upgrade them in some way. Well, the grip company you need to check out is Brownworks. Brownworks is a custom grip company making a wide variety of grips for a wide variety of firearms out of a wide variety of exotic woods and materials. Mark is an artist and a craftsman. He's always coming up with new and innovative features for his grips, such as applying custom logos, custom engravings, custom textures, finishing these grips in a wide variety of colors, as well as applying exotic material like snakeskin and alligator skin to these grips to make them unique and one of a kind. Pretty much anything anything you can imagine, Mark can make. So I'm going to put a link to his website in the comment section below, as well as a coupon code for 10% off your first order. And when you go over there and order your first set of custom grips, please tell Mark the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so once again, let's talk about the pistol we have on the workbench today, the Beretta 84BB. And as I mentioned, this is a police trade-in, so it has a little bit of wear and tear to it, but I think it adds a lot of character. Let's talk about this pistol's specs. It has a 3.81-inch barrel. Its overall length is 6.8 inches. It weighs 20 ounces. It is chambered in .380. It has a 13-round capacity magazine. The trigger in it is double action, single action, and it has a manual safety and not a decocker like you would find on later versions of this gun. So before we get this to the range, as always, I want to talk about the things that I like and don't like. And I always want to start with the positive first. And the first thing I love about this pistol is the aesthetics. There's just something about Beretta pistols that are sleek, curvy, and sexy. They are a great blend of form and function. I really feel like too many pistols today are blocky, and people only look at them as tools, and I totally understand that. But for me, I want a durable gun that's easy to shoot, is accurate, but also looks really good. And that's what I think Beretta creates. And I love these open slide designs that you find on many of their pistols. The next thing I love about this gun is its capacity. Yes, 13 rounds of .380. Often, modern manufacturers try to make .380 pistols as small as possible, and I can appreciate that and understand that philosophy. But for me, I want a small .380, but I want one that I can shoot comfortably. This is a really interesting size. It's not quite a subcompact, but it's not a compact either. It kind of falls in between, and it really fits my hands well. Often I don't enjoy shooting .380s because they're too small. So the fact this has 13 rounds of capacity in a gun that is a good size, I really like. The other thing about this pistol that I think stands out as compared to some of the later models is this version does not have a magazine safety disconnect. And that means with the magazine out, I can pull the trigger and the hammer will still drop. And that means you can get a pretty darn good trigger pull in it. Unlike some later versions like the 84FS, if I drop the magazine and then pull the trigger, nothing will happen. And sometimes that magazine safety disconnect can really hurt the trigger pull. So now let's talk about one thing about this gun that I don't like, and that is it lacks a locking system. It's just direct blowback. Now I know some people are going to say a .380 pistol doesn't need a locking system, and I totally understand that. It makes these guns easier to manufacture. However, a locking system can make them more comfortable to shoot. Often people are going to turn to .380 because they think 9mm hurts their hands too much. So a gun like this might be attractive to somebody that is older or has weaker wrists. But without that locking mechanism, this gun is going to be a little bit snappier. Now, some people are going to say, I don't know of any .380s with locking systems. Well, the Glock 42 has one. It has a tilting barrel. I really feel like Beretta could have miniaturized the 92 type of system that you see with that dropping block and incorporated it into this gun. Now, that doesn't mean this is going to hurt your hands when you shoot it or it has too much recoil. It's just something that I wish they would have added, and I don't think it would have cost them all that much. And I can appreciate the engineering of a good quality direct blowback pistol. It's just something that I wish this gun had. A locking mechanism I think would go a long way in improving this design. Now, before we get this to the range, I want to show you what this double action, single action trigger is all about. So I'm going to adjust the camera, get out the Lyman trigger pull weight gauge, and see what this trigger is all about. So let's take a closer look at the trigger in this Beretta 84BB. Of course, let's drop the magazine, ensure there is no ammunition in it, and of course, safety check the gun, and that there's no ammunition in the chamber. So let's start off by taking a look at the double action pull. It's pretty long, pretty heavy. But overall, not too bad. It feels like it's pretty smooth and it breaks predictably. Now let's take a look at the single action pull. Quite a bit of take up. A little bit gritty there, but comes back to a definitive wall. And that feels pretty light. Pretty good for a concealed carry pistol. Here's our reset. A little bit on the long side, and then you have some more take up. So overall, it's not the greatest trigger, but I think it's pretty good for what this pistol is designed to be. So let's go ahead and get out the trigger pull weight gauge. Let's clear the averages, and let's test the double action pull first. See how heavy it is. So our first pull, 7 pounds, 10.6 ounces. Really not that heavy in the grand scheme of things. Our second pull, 7 pounds, 12.8 ounces. 7 pounds, 8.2 ounces. 7 pounds, 5.0 ounces. And finally, 7 pounds, 14.2 ounces, which gives us an average of 7 pounds, 10.2 ounces. That's definitely not the worst double action trigger I've ever pulled. So now let's try the single action. I'll go ahead and clear the averages. And our first pull in single action is 4 pounds, 7.8 ounces. 4 pounds, 9.5 ounces. 4 pounds, 4.5 ounces. 4 pounds, 8.3 ounces. And finally, we have 4 pounds, 7.9 ounces, which gives us an average of 4 pounds, 7.6 ounces. Overall, a pretty darn good trigger for a concealed carry 380 pistol. So that's the trigger pull in this gun. So now let's get this thing to the range and see how it shoots. Hopefully it's going to function well and it's going to be accurate. So as always, I'll start by setting the target at 7 yards. I'll put a magazine through this and just give you guys my initial thoughts and opinions on my first experiences with it. So let's go to the range. All right, so let's talk about what just happened. There's a few positive and a few negative things. The first thing I want to talk about is the accuracy. And oh my gosh, is this gun accurate. It is so easy to shoot. I was not expecting a group like that, even at just 7 yards. And I know this gun is a pretty small gun designed for CCW. And normally when it comes to guns like this, I get a pretty good group. But this thing seems to be absolutely a tack driver. I am so impressed with that. I also love how easy this gun is to shoot. It feels great in my hand. It just fits the size of my hand so well. And it's another reason why I said earlier in this video, it kind of falls in that gap between a compact and a subcompact gun. But now let's talk about the two issues that I did experience that I think are a little bit negative. And one I was expecting. The first one is It's a little bit snappier than I was expecting it to be, but I have shot my other Berettas before, and just because this is direct blowback, it just has that extra recoil impulse. I think some people are going to be surprised by that. They're going to be thinking, okay, I'm using a less powerful caliber than 9mm, it's going to shoot softer, and that's not the case. And then finally, the last issue was the magazine did not lock the slide open after the last round. Now, going on in this review, I will tell you, anytime the slide does lock open, I will be using one of my other magazines. But if the slide does not lock open, I'm using the one that came with the gun. I'm not really sure who made this. It's not branded by either Mekgar or Beretta, but it's the one that I know that came with the box when Jack got it. But the modern ones seem to work fine. So any of these issues, I'm pretty sure is a magazine issue and not an issue with the gun. All right, so now let's double the distance of the target, and I'm going to hope that this group is going to continue to be this tight. This thing really is quite an amazing pistol, especially because it's a police trade-in. I have no idea how many rounds are through this. So let's go back to the range, put another magazine through it, and see if this accuracy continues. And as expected, the group opened up a little bit, but not by much. Normally, I do not shoot guns this size this well. Is it because the sight radius is a little bit short? Or is it because the sights are actually a little bit on the small side? I don't know. But if you're going to be carrying this gun or using this gun, 15 yards and less is probably the optimum distance. But let me show you some close-ups of the sights. The rear sight is dovetailed, and it's very similar to that of an M9 where you just have a single dot in the center, and the front is non-adjustable and it is milled into the slide, so it is not dovetailed and you cannot replace that. And it is pretty darn small. But overall, I am very pleased with the accuracy. Now, speaking of accuracy, I want to take as much of the human element out of the equation as possible. So I'm going to set the target out now at 25 yards, and I'm going to shoot this from the bench. So hopefully, I'm going to get another great group. So let's go back to the range and see how this gun performs at 25 yards. And for a firearm that is not designed for target or competition shooting, this pistol is outperforming some other guns that I have reviewed that are designed for those applications. I don't know if it's the fact it just fits in my hand so well or it's just innately that accurate. This gun is awesome, and this goes well beyond the range that I think most people would use this gun in any practical manner. So I am very impressed with its performance. All right, so now speaking of what this gun is designed to do, most people that would acquire this gun are going to carry it. And so in that application, you're going to want to know, will hollow points run effectively through it? Sometimes these direct blowback pistols have an issue with hollow points because of the flat nose and how they feed from the magazine. So let's go back to the range, let's put a magazine of hollow points through this and just make sure they work. And with the exception of when this gun does not have the slide lock back, when I'm using this magazine, it is running like a top. All of the ammunition that I'm feeding through it, it's working perfectly. And once again, look at that group at 7 yards. This gun honestly is a tack driver for a CCW pistol. All right, so the last test I want to do is a 3-in-1 test. I want to, number one, see how fast I can shoot this pistol. This trigger is okay, so I don't know how fast I'll be able to get through 2 magazines, but we'll find out. I also want to know how quickly I can change these magazines out. This is a pretty darn small magwell, so that might slow me down. And also I want to know, is this gun point shootable? I always test for this because I know many people think in a self-defense scenario you're going to have time to draw your pistol from your holster, line up those sights, but your adrenaline is going to be flowing and you might only have enough time to draw the pistol, point it, and pull the trigger. And if that's all you can do, is this gun going to hit the target? And is it going to stay on target if you're just point shooting it? So I want to test these 3 things out. So let's go back to the range, put a couple magazines through this as fast as I possibly can, and see what I discover. And I think this pistol passed all those tests with flying colors. Even though the trigger's a little bit long, I can shoot it pretty fast. The magazine, well, a little bit small, but I'm able to find it with no problem. And all those rounds were on target without even trying, so it's innately a very accurate and easy to shoot pistol. So I don't think you can beat this gun for a CCW style firearm. So what are my final thoughts on the Beretta 84BB? Well, there are so many positive things to say about this gun. Obviously, it is exceptionally accurate. I was not expecting that. It is great for a CCW style pistol. It's in that perfect size between a compact and a subcompact gun. It has amazing capacity for 380 if you want to carry a 380 pistol. It's very well balanced and very easy to control. I think would also be very easy to conceal. What are the cons of this pistol? Well, I would have to say the recoil impulse is a little bit more than what you might want for a 380. It almost feels like a 9mm, but you don't get the ballistic advantage of a 9mm. I think many people that would turn to this gun would want something a little bit easier to shoot than a 9. But that's going to be up to you, and I always recommend to try one out before you get one. You might like it, you might hate it. The other thing I had an issue with was the slide not locking back on an empty magazine when I was using the older magazine. But I'm not going to hold that against the gun because it's more of a magazine issue than the firearm. And once I used modern mags, I had no issue. So on my star system, how would I rate the Beretta 84BB? Well, I'm going to give this 4.75 stars out of 5. Almost a perfect review. It exceeded my expectations in so many ways. It's just a little bit on the snappy side for a 380, and that's the only reason I would deduct those very few points. So what do you think? Have you ever shot an 80 series Beretta? Any of the models 81 through 89? Tell me your experiences. And did they mirror my experiences with this 84 BB? And as always, thanks for watching. However, I don't think you really need them, but this is a model that did not have them, and I need to redo this again.